Hey guys, this is Aaron from Geeky Development and welcome to our weekly tutorials. And this week I'll be showing you how to use storyboards in Xcode. Now there'll be two parts to this tutorial. The first part is I'll be showing you how to switch from one view to another using the storyboards method. And the second part is I'll be showing you how to add code and link up the actions and outlets in certain views. Now before I start this tutorial, I'm going to create a project now just to show you how to add storyboards into your project. So I'm going to do something simple as a single view application and name it Storyboard App Project. And if you zoom in there, to enable storyboards in your project, make sure the use storyboard is ticked. And once you've done that, you can create your project and Xcode will make sure storyboards is included. So here in the menu, we have main storyboard. If you click that, our storyboard view is loaded up. Now basically what storyboards is a very unique way of displaying your application with all its multiple views, helping you arrange your project and see where certain views are going. And also it shows you which views are linked to the other views. So the first part here, I'm going to show you how to switch from the main view to various other views. So if I just zoom out now and add in multiple view controllers, so this is our main view here, and it's going to switch to 3 views here. Now just to show you that it is switching to different views, I will colour coordinate our 3 views. So the first one can be red, the second can be simply blue, and finally our third will be green. Then I'll just make them closer together so I can link them up. Okay then, so in our first main view here, we're going to want to add in 3 buttons to link up to our 3 views. So if I drag in the first button, just simply copy and paste it to save a little bit of time. So if I do view 1 in the first one, view 2 in the second one, view 3 finally in the third one. Now what we do to link them up, in storyboards to switch views it requires no coding whatsoever. So you can control, click and drag, or hold the right button and drag. So our first view button here, simply drag it to our first view. And then you've got the settings of push, module and custom. Now in previous tutorials I showed you how to switch views using the code. I've always used the module view controller, so it's nicely animated and give it nice transition. So if we click module, now you'll notice a big curly line here has now gone from the first view to from our main view to our first view, showing you that it is linked up for a transition. Now if we do the exact same thing for our second view button, and again module, now another line is linked up to our second view, and our third one, module again. So now if I zoom out, you can now get a better understanding of what's going on in your project as the 3 views are linked up to our main view with these connections. So now the next thing we want to do is add in a button on all 3 of the new views to enable you to switch back to the main view. Now we just repeat the same process, so I'll just call the button switch back. And again, just do the same process and link them up with module. So now, if I zoom out, the first view here has now, as well as being linked up from the able to switch to it, but now if you press the button, the line here switches you all the way back to our main view. So if I zoom back in, and just copy and paste this button on the other 2 views and link them up with the module, and you watch the connection link up. and then place that there, and then link that up there, module again. So if I zoom out once more, as crazy it looks, and it looks a little bit mental, looks like spaghetti, but now if you can see that the connections from the main view here come down to each one of them, and then from each of these individual views here we have the button that's linked to go back to our main view with our, see the lines all connecting it back up to it. Now on the first view, the first button that switches to our first view, I'm going to show you something now. So if you click on the UI button to view controller, the first one here, so when you click on it, the first button should be highlighted. In the inspector here, we have the style, which we selected was module, and then underneath you have transition, where you're able to select the transition you would like when hitting that button. Now I'm just going to add the transition just for switching to the first view only, so I'll simply do cross dissolve. It's my personal favourite, and save that. And if you go to build and run, we can now simply show you the application working. And so far we've used no code whatsoever, so it's a very unique way and a time saving way of creating a simple application. Okay, so now once it's loaded, our first view should switch to our first view with the cross dissolve transition, and we set our first view to have a red background, so we hit it, it cross dissolves to our red background, which is on our first view. So if I zoom out, show you, so our first view. So now we get the simulator back up, and if we switch back, now we didn't add a transition in our first view there, so it's a normal, the default transition, and this transition will be the same for all the other buttons now, as we didn't add any transitions on these. So our second view takes us to our blue second view, and switch back, and our third one to our green one, and that enables us to switch back. Now that's all been done within the storyboard view, and we've used no coding whatsoever. So now, as well as being able to switch views via the buttons, if we add in a fourth view controller here, and I'll give this a yellow background now, and you'll notice that within the objects here we also have gestures. Now if I add a swipe gesture to our our main view controller and then highlight it here, now control click or right click it and do exactly what you did but with the swipe gesture. So to link up, because it's on our first view here, if we link it up to our fourth view and go module, now the swipe gesture is now linked up, enable us to swipe the screen, and it will take us to our fourth view, which is yellow. So now if we click on our swipe gesture again, and in the inspector we now have the settings here, so we click on the swipe drop box here, shows us which way you want to swipe our finger. So we can do up, down, left or right. So I'm just going to keep it right here, so all you got to do is simply swipe your finger to the right, and it should switch us to our fourth view. Now if you add another one in, to our fourth view, another swipe gesture, and then click it, or make sure it's highlighted in the control scene, and do exactly the same again, just link it up back to our main view, and then module. Now if you click on here, and then this time we can switch it to the left, just so you get that feel going left to right in the application. Now save that. So this time, to get to our fourth view, it requires swiping our finger to the right, and then to go back to our main view in our fourth view requires you swiping your finger to the left. So if we build that, run that now in the simulator. So what we simply do is swipe on the mouse here to the right. Now because there was no transition added there, it's just simply giving you the default transition, which just loads the view up from the bottom. So if we swipe back, there we go, and there. So we can do it over and over again, as well as switching there and back. So far we've built up a small view-based application there with no coding whatsoever, with a button with a view transition style linking us to our three views, enable us to switch back, and a nice fourth view where you simply swipe to reveal it. So that's simply how you can use your storyboard there to link up all the views, and you can see all the connections clearly of where they're going and where they should be going. So that's simply how you switch views using the storyboard in XCode. Now, the second part of this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to add the actions and outlets to a view. Now, what you've noticed so far is we have 5 views altogether, but we only have one .h and .m. Now, this .h here, if I create an IV outlet of a label, for instance, and I'll name it main view label, so it's easy to understand. So if I go back into Storyboard, if I click on our main view, which loads up, and if we go to our connections here, you'll notice our label outlet is just here. So if I dragged in a label, oh, got to zoom in there. So if I just dragged in the label and clicked on View Controller, this will bring up our connection menu here, and we can simply drag our main view label to our label, which links it all up. And just like with all the other tutorials, in the .h you add in the actions and outlets, and in the .m you add all the coding. But if we go back to Storyboard now, so once we're in the view controller of our main view, and then the outlet we have our label. Well, if you go to our, just for instance, our fourth view, which will work the same as all the other views we have added down here. So if we click on the view controller in that view, there is no main view label in the connections, as we don't have a .h or .m set for them. So if I go right click on the project name here and add a new file, the same way as you would add a second view class to our project, but instead of adding a UI view controller subclass, if we add an Objective C class, this is just the two .h and .m, but it doesn't require an interface. And then we'll simply name it, as we're going to link up the fourth view, so I'll simply name it fourth view controller, and then press next, and then create that into our project. We've seen the menu now, we have our fourth view controller and .m, but now these two controllers are not linked up to any of the views in our storyboard. So as we're doing the fourth view, if we go here into our identity inspector, and where we have the class here, just drop down the menu and then find our fourth view controller. And if we save that now, it should be all linked up, this view on its own, to our fourth view controller .h and .m. So then if I create a IV outlet, another label this time, but I'll name this one fourth view label. Getting a little bit confused myself there. And that with a semicolon. So, and then we go to our storyboard again. Now in our fourth view here, click on the view, that in the outlets we have our fourth view label now all linked up. So if you place in our label, and again click on the fourth view controller, and now we can link up our outlet, which we just created in our new set of fourth view file classes. No, fourth view controller.h, and you can see repeat the same process to add the .h and .m for our remaining views down at the bottom here. So if I just zoom out now, so with all the other previous tutorials, you can, such as the changing the text color or playing a sound or random number generator, stuff like that, they just all require you placing them in the .h and .m, or the newer files, which you will add to control the newer views. You just place them in there like I've done on this, so then we'll add more code in here to do more stuff, which will control everything that happens in our fourth view. So that's just simply how you do it, and it may seem a little bit complicated at first, but it saves a lot of hassle for now when you're building applications, as you can see here everything that is going on with the application. So those are the two features I wanted to point out with Storyboards. So if I quickly go to build and run now, and see the final finish of this tutorial. So now once it's loaded, we'll show you what we've created. So what we've basically done, we have our 3 buttons and our label, which was just linked up in the .h to show you the connections. But in our view one, what we've simply done, our view one has our view and transition, which cross dissolves to our first view, which is down here. And we can enable us to switch back. And our second view takes us to our second view, and all these switching views has required no coding whatsoever. It's just a simple drag and drop of the buttons. And our third view takes us to our third view, and the unique feature now, we can swipe to the right, which brings up our fourth view, where we have the label, which is now connected to our new set of classes up here, and enable us to switch back by simply swiping the gesture to the right, which takes us back to our main view. So I hope this helps in any of your apps or projects at the moment. I hope after you watching this tutorial now you've felt inspired to go create some brilliant applications, as I've just shown you a lot of great features you can add now with the Storyboards feature in XCode. So like I say all before, I hope this helps with any of your apps or projects at the moment. Make sure you thumbs up the video, leave us some great feedback or some tutorials you want to suggest. And most importantly, favourite the video, make sure you subscribe, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next week in our next tutorial. Hey guys, Aaron here. Please support us by liking us on Facebook, following us on Twitter, and checking out all our apps by simply searching Geeky Lemon on the App Store. And make sure you visit our website where we have a full list and full source code for all our tutorials, and visit our blog, forums, and all the other great features we have to offer on our website.